Welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, let's jump right into this because today we are unpacking an absolutely fascinating scenario. What actually happens when you drop 100 people into the middle of the wilderness and offer them $250,000 to just outlast each other? Now, it sounds like a fun game, right? But it's actually a super profound psychological experiment. We're talking about testing decades of real, hardcore wilderness expertise against the raw, unpredictable mess of human psychology. We are looking at a massive endurance challenge engineered by Mr. Beast, where contestants had to brave the freezing elements, literal starvation, and honestly, most importantly, each other, just to claim that massive cash prize.
So here's the ultimate irony hook for you. Who would you actually bet on to survive longer? A team of trained, battle-tested professionals who literally do this for a living, or a team of complete novices armed with absolutely nothing but enthusiasm and a credit card? Seriously, lock in your bets mentally right now, because the way this whole thing unfolds is going to completely subvert your expectations of what it actually takes to survive out there.
Take a look at the starting line. On one side, we have the blue team, and they are made up entirely of survival experts with serious natural skills. We're talking about folks who regularly spend months in the woods just for fun. Opposing them is the red team, the amateurs. And right before the drop, they were given this hilarious shopping spree. They came back carrying giant 24 packs of bottled water, lighters, and these super flimsy store-bought kids' tents. I mean, they were packing like they were headed off to a weekend music festival, not a grueling wilderness survival challenge.
Section 1. Experts versus amateurs. Now, in those initial days, you'd probably assume the experts would just effortlessly dominate, right? Well, let's see what actually happened.
What is truly fascinating here is the sheer, almost delusional optimism of the red team. As you can read in this quote, despite burning through their store-bought party mix in like the first 45 minutes, and then facing genuine, actual starvation, they somehow maintained this incredible, laughing camaraderie. They were literally sharing the misery. They were totally bonding over the very fact that they were in way over their heads.
But then, contrast that with the blue team. One of the experts perfectly summed up the stark juxtaposition right here. Their camp instantly became a battlefield of egos. You had 50 highly trained individuals, all type A personalities, all used to doing things their own specific way, and aggressively trying to be the alpha. Those power struggles instantly poisoned their entire camp. Section 2. Shelters and starvation. Moving on, let's look at how both teams tackled the absolute physical pillars of survival, braving the elements and finding food. For instance, let's check out their living quarters. A survivalist on the blue team named Seth actually successfully led his camp in building proper debris shelters. These rely on thick, natural insulation, so they were massive, dry, and super warm, effectively 4 seasons quality for being out in the woods. The red team, well, they slept in tiny, brightly colored children's tents that could barely even fit a full-grown adult.
But comparing the two camps here reveals a really crucial point. Look at the blue team. Great natural debris shelters, sure, but their group morale was rock bottom because of rampant infighting over who got to control the food. Then you have the red team, who had objectively terrible, poor store-bought tents, yet their morale was incredibly high. It's an absolutely fascinating irony. Superior physical comfort did not translate into superior psychological well-being.
All right. Section 3, the ego trap. Let's dive into the psychological unraveling of the blue team, because hard skills are totally useless if you can't work together. The ultimate irony of this entire experiment is just staggering. The very first people to shoot off their flares and tap out of the competition, they were the survival experts from the blue team. One of the first was actually a 66-year-old with a double knee replacement who just realized the physical toll was way too much. So despite all their decades of preparation, the experts were the very first ones to break.
And the blue team's downfall wasn't even the elements. It was themselves. Contestants literally created hidden stashes of potatoes in tool sheds just to hide food from their own teammates. There were screaming matches simply because people refused to wipe down communal cooking counters. Members proudly declared they were naturally oppositionally defiant. They were fighting over single apple rations. I mean, just imagine being stuck in the freezing woods with 50 hungry control freaks. It is a complete recipe for disaster.
Section 4, the 50-can torture. Midway through, Mr. Beast introduces this brutal psychological twist that totally tests their sanity. Let's break it down. Okay, here are the brutal mechanics. Both teams are handed exactly 50 cans of real food. Beef, peas, corn. They have 72 hours to return them. The team that returns the most unopened cans wins a massive, game-changing reward. But, and this is the absolute kicker, if they tie, neither team wins anything. Imagine how agonizing it is to just sit there and stare at a can of beef for 3 entire days when your hips literally hurt from starvation, knowing that opening even one can might cost your team the entire game.
Now, what's really interesting is how the blue team handled this. Driven by the sheer logic of winning, these starving experts summoned this immense, almost frightening discipline. They literally buried the food just to keep it out of sight. And at the end of the 72 hours, they returned all 50 cans, completely untouched.
But then we move over to the red team, the amateurs, the very same people who were complaining about wanting milkshakes and Waffle House on day 4. Miraculously, they also resisted temptation. Through pure collective peer pressure and this desperate desire to just not let each other down, they returned exactly 50 cans as well.
Which leads us to this absolute gut punch reality. Because they tied perfectly, neither team won anything. It was a staggering psychological blow. The sudden realization that they had starved for 3 whole days, staring at food, only to get literally nothing, instantly sparked furious self-eliminations. The second the results were announced, 3 people from the red team just fired off their flares and quit in pure frustration.
Section 5. The psychological breaking point. This leads us right into the final days of the experiment, pushing everyone left to their absolute limits. We can clearly map out this terrifying descent. Look at the timeline. On day 1, it was all optimism and shopping sprees. By day 4, the snacks were totally gone, and the starvation really set in. By day 8, you have freezing rain and frost covering their camps, soaking their clothes, completely destroying their fire pits. The slow, steady deterioration of their bodies and minds set the perfect stage for day 14, and the ultimate test of trust. So, the crucial point of the finale was the box challenge, and the logic here was just incredibly cruel. Mr. Beast presented identical boxes to both teams. They reveal a high-value item, like cast iron pans or Glorious Feastables peanut butter cups. If you hit your button first, your team gets it, but the other team gets absolutely nothing. However, if both teams trust each other enough to reject the item, they both get to keep everything at the very end. Watching starving people literally salivate over chocolate, yet painfully yell at their teammates not to press the button so they could maximize a collective victory, that is human psychology at its absolute most extreme.
And that brings us to the core takeaway of this entire explainer. It all comes down to this simple fact. The red team genuinely liked each other. The experts on the blue team had every conceivable hard skill out there. They could build, they could forage, they could survive the elements. But the amateurs? They had the ultimate soft skill. Community, their genuine friendship, their willingness to share a single apple, and their ability to suffer together without turning on one another is what ultimately kept them in the fight when the experts were tearing each other apart.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative question to ponder. Is $250,000 worth the ultimate test of human endurance and ego? Seriously, if you were stranded in the wilderness tomorrow, would you rather be armed with a textbook knowledge of debris shelters and a massive ego, or a flimsy kid's tent and a group of friends you genuinely trust? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer, and I will see you in the next one.